Hello, my name is Ray Lopez, and I'm your City Council representative for District 6. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the program, Lopez Live. On today's show, we'll be discussing the 2017 bond program and the Transportation and Capital Improvements Department. Now I'd like to welcome to the show my first guest, Christian. Sir, welcome to the show.
Councilman, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
And welcome to Tom Slick Park, which is a great asset for our community.
What a beautiful day. What a beautiful park.
Well, some people would say it's Chamber of Commerce weather, but it's really District 6 weather. Right? It's in a great part of the city with a lot of growth and a lot of really concern from the community about, let's say, how are we going to manage all this, and can we keep up the pace, and what do we do to make sure that what's coming to our community is not going to hurt our quality of life. And that kind of brings us to what we're here to talk about, and that's the bond. So, I mean, one of the real basic questions usually is, so what exactly is a bond, and how does that work, and what am I going to get out of it?
Yeah, well, I've been involved in the last two major bond campaigns and now the 2017 bond. In 2005, 2012, now the 2017 bond. It really is an opportunity for the city to make long-term investments in the basic infrastructure needs of our citizens. Things that are important to our citizens, like better roads, drainage projects that prevent catastrophic flooding, libraries, parks. That is where we're able to make the major investments for the future of our city.
So in this coming up bond, what is the size of it, and what's the level of debt obligation, if you will? Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, which is probably the boring part about the bond, because what everybody wants to know is, what am I going to get?
Right. What's in it for me? First. Sure. Well, I think you first have to start with the sound fiscal level of the city. So we're the only city in America that has a AAA bond rating by all three credit rating agencies, which allows us, the city of San Antonio, to borrow money at the lowest possible interest rate, which means for the citizens, we're able to borrow enough money, in this case for the 2017 bond program, $850 million, and we're able to do projects all across the city that deal with infrastructure, streets, drainage, parks, libraries, public safety, and we're able to do that without raising taxes. So we're able to invest in that basic infrastructure for the long haul, and we're able to do it without a tax increase. That is critically important. Other major cities in America struggle with that because they would have to raise taxes and they would have fewer projects. But because of our sound fiscal position, we're able to borrow this money and be able to think long term.
So whenever all of this was being discussed, did somebody get into a back room somewhere and kind of figure out, hey, this is all the really cool things that we need in the city of San Antonio? Talk a little bit about the process of how we kind of came up with what it was that the city wants.
Well, it's a great process. Why? Because it's community-based process. It's citizen-based process. There were 5 community committees. Each councilperson was able to appoint citizens from each district there, and the mayor was able to appoint the co-chairs of each one of the 5 propositions. They went across the city and had community input meetings. Over 1,400 citizens participated in those meetings where they selected the projects to then recommend to the council members and to the mayor. The council members took in those recommendations and unanimously supported the $850 million package that we have. Now, there's a bit of a trick. So the upcoming election will actually have 6 propositions because one of the propositions, the public safety, needed to be divided out into its own proposition. So there are 6 ballot initiatives to vote for. But it's an overwhelming endorsement when you have that many citizens, that many people that were appointed by the elected leaders, and then to be unanimously voted in by all 10 council members and the mayor. It's a great endorsement for a great project for the city.
Well, I remember when it came to council, we literally approved what was recommended. We made minor changes. I know in District 6, for example, the small change that I made was really, while I would love to take credit for it, was really something that they were trying to get into the bond, didn't quite make it. They brought it to me and we added it later. So it really is just answering the call of what people want. And I think the process in and of itself has been, I think, one of the biggest assets for a positive view of what's coming up in the bond. But I do know that a lot of folks will go like, okay, so what am I getting? What's coming in my community? So how can people find out specifically what park, how much, what's going to be happening? How can they get that kind of information?
So the city has a great website. where you can add your zip code into the website and find out all of the things that are going to be in your neighborhood or in your surrounding area. The campaign side of things, we actually link to the city's website because it's so good in explaining what's in it for me. And so if you go to 1sa2017.com, you can find out a lot of the things about the campaign, a lot about what's in it for you, and you'll be able to link with the city's website right there on the campaign.
And if they wanted to get into a dialogue about it, are you guys going out into the community?
We have a great thing called our Speakers Bureau. We've trained over 250 citizens to go out and speak in the community at different neighborhood associations, or as I like to say, if there's a meeting of 10 or more people, I want a bond representative there so that if there are questions about neighborhood improvements or what's in the parks program in our community, that we've got good representatives all across the community. We've attended over 200 meetings from the smallest neighborhood association to the Chambers of Commerce meetings, where we've gotten the endorsement of all of the Chambers of Commerce as well.
So the mechanics of voting, there are 6 propositions. Talk a little bit about that real quickly, and do they have to vote on all of them?
Early voting starts on April 24th. On the ballot, you'll have the mayor and the council races, and then there will be 6 different propositions that you either vote yes or no on, and they start with streets and then drainage. And so all 6 propositions are on the ballot.
The best way to do that and to feel good about it is to come to one of the meetings, call the website, call one of the offices, or even call my office. Our district certainly isn't shy about doing that, and asking the questions. And then if you get convinced that it's good, at least this is the message I deliver, then tell a neighbor. Drag them out with you.
That's what we try and do every single day. We want people to make sure that they are highly informed and ready and understand that this is a historic investment in the infrastructure needs for the city.
Thank you for all you do.
Councilman, thank you.
Very good. And stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break to talk about transportation and capital improvements. Hello, this is Ray Lopez, your District 6 Councilman. Extensive public input contributed to the development of the proposed 2017-2022 bond program. More than 1,400 residents attended 25 public meetings, with 350 public comments heard during these meetings. The Citizens Committees approved 173 projects and presented their recommendations for City Council's consideration. City Council added 7 projects and approved 180 projects to be included in the May 6, 2017 bond election. If you'd like more information on these projects in District 6, please call my office at 210-207-3749 or email us at district6@sanantonio.gov.
Hey San Antonio! The 2017 bond is a 5-year program that will provide numerous infrastructure improvements throughout San Antonio. This will improve our city streets, drainage, parks, and public safety facilities. As a resident, no matter where you live or work, you are close to one or more projects. 70% of the projects are dedicated to street and drainage improvements. Flooding will be reduced on more than 260 properties, and 200 miles of sidewalks are planned. The 2017 bond has projects in every district with no city property tax rate increase. Remember to vote on May 6th.
Welcome back to the program. I'm your host and City Councilman Ray Lopez, here to kind of start the discussion again with another great friend of ours, Mike Frisbee, who runs what I call my favorite acronym, TCI. TCI is a department in the city of San Antonio that takes care of an awful lot of stuff, and I can tell you as an elected official, that's the first one you want to get to be really, really tight with. So Mike, welcome to the show. Thank you for all the great work over the last 8 years that we got a chance to work together, making sure that you keep me straight on what we can do, and then making sure that we do everything we said we were going to do. And I think the public, I certainly appreciate that. I think the public recognizes it as well. But let's talk a little bit. I know all about TCI. I love that acronym. Tell me, what is TCI? What do you guys do? Kind of a big picture, and then we'll bring it down to the day-to-day stuff and maybe what's most important, and we'll ultimately talk about the bond.
All right, Councilman, thanks for having me as part of your show. I appreciate it, and the great partnership that we've always had. TCI, Transportation and Capital Improvements. So we handle a variety of things, but basically anything to do with infrastructure out there. Streets, bridges, sidewalks, drainage systems. We build them, we maintain them, make sure everything is kept safe. We also handle all of the design and construction for buildings, libraries, parks, facilities like the Convention Center, the Alamo Dome, this great facility here, the Petranco YMCA and library. We're in charge of all the different infrastructure projects for the city. We handle all the traffic related elements too, traffic engineering and operations, keeping people moving and safe out there. So quite a wide variety in TCI.
Well, you're right, and I'm glad you got that detailed about it, because I know a big piece of what you do is working, for example, with the MPO and TxDOT, and making sure that the investments we're making at that level on our highway system is effective, and that we at the city level are tying into it to make it a system, a network, a way for people to get from their driveway to where they're going, and it's greatly appreciated, and I think mostly underappreciated, to be quite honest with you, because most people don't realize that the city does that much and has to be involved that.
Yeah, we want people to take it for granted. If we have systems of drainage and traffic, and if they can take that for granted that it's working well, they have enough in their lives to deal with family and business and everything else. So we just try to keep it moving, keep it safe, and keep improving.
Very true. But we appreciate the fact that you're doing it. That takes me to another, how you do what you do. I know that over the course of the last 8 years that I've been on council, I think P3s were certainly invented and introduced, and a concept that was well before the time I got there. But it seems like we do a lot more of P3s, public-private partnerships. Talk a little bit about that, the advantages of doing that, and how we hope to leverage that into the upcoming bond.
Sure. So anytime we can partner with another agency, especially financially, it helps the city's dollars go that much further. We can do that many more projects. So whether it be the state at TxDOT, or as you mentioned, federal dollars through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or private developers or school districts, there's a whole variety of organizations, and we're always looking for how do we strive to make projects better by joining together. So we can work with these other agencies and make a project happen for less city dollars because they have their dollars in it. And so we've done that many times throughout the city in a variety of facilities and streets, drainage projects, and now we're looking ahead to the 2017 bond program, and there's a lot of projects in there that are leveraged financially with another partner to make the city's dollars go that much further.
Well, in the previous segment, we were talking to Christian Archer, who is running the bond campaign. And he talked about $850 million and all the projects that were associated with it, how we kind of got there and all that. But of that, there's a portion above the 850 that's actually going to be leveraged and quantified as leveraged. How much is that?
We estimate $350 million. So
on
top of the 850. So this bond program, it's going to be a $1.2 billion all-in program if the voters approve it. So that's exciting, and that's with about 40. That's on about 40 different projects, and so that's working with school districts on facilities that can be jointly built, jointly used by the community and students, of course, TxDOT, and on major streets, and the federal government, developers. So there's about 40 projects worth about $350 additional million for the bond program.
And that's important because that's not part of the tax base. That's really investment from the private sector. There's also other dollars that I know that through your organization you manage, and other sources of revenue. I'll throw out the acronyms of NAP and IMP. Then you can kind of tell us what those are, and really the importance of what those are. Those are additional funds that come out of general fund, but can you talk a little bit about how that gets managed and how we leverage all that together?
Sure. So we, on an annual basis, we have revenues that come in, and then the City Council as policymakers, make a final decision on how to use those revenues, and the City Manager makes recommendations to that. And so a lot of that funding goes on an annual basis to street maintenance, to sidewalks, to drainage projects, and so forth. Of course, libraries and parks and facilities. So there's that annual investment in infrastructure to try to maintain as much as we can. But it doesn't, we still need the bond programs to handle those bigger projects, because on just the annual basis, the funding is not going to be there to tackle some of those bigger projects all over the city.
And that's what the IMP and the NAP funding comes from the general fund. And I think that's why I always tell folks, hey, listen, guys, there may not be enough money in this pot of money to get done what you want to do, but we have to have that list, because that's what we go to. We go to that list to use other pots of money as they become available, state, federal, even local funds like we just talked about from our general fund. So it's really, really important that we get the input. Over the course of this bond, we've gotten a lot of input. So we identified a whole bunch of projects. They totaled about $850 million. There were some projects that didn't quite make the cut for one reason or another. So what do we do with those, and what happens to them?
So it's important to understand the needs out there, and we have an inventory of needs, whether it's facilities like libraries and so forth, or is it streets and drainage, parks. We know what the needs are, but we're continually taking input, as you mentioned, to expand on those needs. What are the latest needs out there? So anything that we can't fund, you know, it's really multiple billions of dollars to handle everything out there that needs to be improved. So we tackle it through the annual process, we tackle it through a big bond program, and then if they don't make that, then we continue to monitor those projects to see how can we get those funded, either through the city or other agencies, and potentially our annual process or a future bond program. So we don't forget about the projects, we know they're there, we keep them prioritized, and then look to see how we can fund them in the future.
And do we ever supplement those bond projects with other dollars from other categories?
Well, in this case, you know, there are some projects that came up through the community process. There were smaller projects, didn't make it into the proposed bond, but we are funding those through other means, through this infrastructure management program you mentioned, where we can do some smaller scale streets and sidewalk projects. It's more suitable for that, so we're actually doing some of those projects that were just raised during the community process.
Well, and to kind of start wrapping up the discussion, you know, we're not the only bond package on the street this coming May. I believe there's a couple of other bond packages that are out there. How closely does the city coordinate with those other city investments? I mean, whether it's Alamo Colleges or any of the others. I mean, do we do a significant amount of investment to leverage their investment along with ours?
We do. We started working a year and a half ago with all the different agencies, the school districts, community colleges, and all those other agencies to see what's your program looking like, what are you thinking for your next bond or your capital program, and how can we tie into that to leverage and do joint projects. It just makes sense. If you're going to be in a close proximity, hey, do them together, it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be better, everybody can use them. So yeah, we started working with them about a year and a half ago on all those elements, so it's been a close relationship.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I know the community does as well. And I think, you know, in real estate they say the most important three things are location, location, location. And I think for bond programs, for things like we're doing, the three things that are important is outreach, outreach, and outreach. And I know you guys have done a great job in doing that.
But I think this has been unprecedented. I don't know anybody in the country, any agency in the country that has done the community outreach as we have. Very robust, very much a community-driven program, so we're excited about it.
Well, thank you for your leadership on that, Mike.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
No, not at all, thank you. And thank you for tuning in. I'd like to once again thank my guests for taking the time to provide us with such great information. I look forward to the upcoming shows, and until the next time, I'm your City Councilman Ray Lopez, and thank you, San Antonio.
Hola San Antonio, el programa de bonos 2017 es un programa a 5 años para financiar mejoras a la infraestructura de nuestra ciudad. Se harán mejoras a calles, drenajes, parques y se construirán edificios para las agencias de seguridad pública. No importa dónde vives o trabajes, uno o más proyectos están cerca de ti. El 70% de los bonos del 2017 son para calles, construir 200 millas de banquetas y a mejorar drenajes. Se reducirán las inundaciones en más de 260 puntos de la ciudad. El programa de bonos 2017 tiene proyectos en todos los distritos y no aumentará el impuesto a la propiedad. No olvides votar el 6 de mayo.
It has taken 300 fascinating years to create San Antonio. Through it all, we have remained unique. We're a vibrant mixture of cultures that loves coming together. Join us as we celebrate our 300 years of life, achievement, and heroism. San Antonio, we keep on making history.